Short films turned into full feature movies. Does this format work? Does it hurt having years between them? Does the story get lost? Does she really like us? How many children must die in their crusade against the aliens? Welcome to They Mostly Pot Out at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 67 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Join us as we dust off our VCRs and get ready to be kind and rewind, because we're doing our VHS catch-up, which I guess is the first catch-up episode that we've done.
This is the very first catch-up episode, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically a franchise that we've already done, and time has passed, and now a new entry in the franchise has come out. So we have to cover it. This one, we kind of got lucky, is that there's two other spin-off films in this same franchise that we could just add to the same episode. I'm saying probably in the future of these catch-up episodes, we're probably going to have to do multiple different franchises in the same episode just to catch up, with past episodes. I know we'll probably have a couple of those planned for the next year, but
especially next year, yeah. There's a lot of sequels coming.
Yeah, but like I said, luckily this one, so we have the new one, VHS 85, just came out. So, of course, spoilers ahead for that one. It's on Shudder, I believe. It's an exclusive Shudder thing.
Exclusive Shudder, yep.
And then there's two other spin-off films that have come off of the franchise. The first is Siren, which is basically kind of reiterating the story from, I believe that was in the first VHS.
Yes.
And then Kids vs. Aliens, which is a spin-off of the Aliens Slumber Party one that was in VHS 2. I think it was the very last.
Correct. This is the very last
story.
thing.
Yeah, the very last
interesting,
story.
and we'll say this right now. It isn't a continuation of it, Kids vs. Aliens. It's a full-on remake of the short film.
Right. It's a remake of the short film in a longer form, which is odd because it's still only like an hour and 15 minutes long, so it's really not even like full movie length.
Correct.
I guess it's close enough. I mean, I would say the standard is probably like 90 minutes.
90, but a lot of horror stuff seems to be 75 now.
Yeah, it's usually like a lot of times. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes is the common thing that I've seen. But yeah, right around there.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it's easy. They're trying to cut the fat on these, horror movies because they're running low on budget, so they're just trying to kick them out as short as they can. I don't know.
Or they have enough story to make
it. Truthfully, there's not a whole lot going on in this, but
no.
Yeah, we'll get there. So, so Kids vs. Aliens came out earlier this year, right?
2022.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Yeah.
I know Siren came out a few years ago.
2016, I believe.
Yeah, so that one's been out for a while. Didn't make any waves, but apparently they did Kids vs. Aliens. I know they've talked about doing more Kids vs. Aliens movies, but they're seeing how well the first one does, and I'm gonna guess they're probably not gonna make any more. But
I'm gonna go with that. Despite the cliffhanger that we'll discuss shortly.
Well, I mean, there's also based on the budget for that movie, I'm pretty sure they could make this, and even if it made $0, I don't think it would hurt.
No.
But anyway, so we'll start off with Siren, since chronologically that does go first.
Yep.
So Siren, so if you watch the original VHS, it kind of sort of has the same theme to where there's a guy getting married and he's having his bachelor party. And I believe in the first one they just go to a bar and they're trying to hook up with chicks and bring them back to their hotel room. This one is a bit different. So it starts out with I don't know,
ritual.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how Dr. Nix looks like a
snake oil salesman.
Well, he looks like a steampunk goth nerd, but in an occult way. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, so he gets called by the police because there's, the police found this weird murder site and there's weird occulty stuff everywhere. So he's apparently the police's occult consultant.
Yes, he probably runs the local occult bookstore.
Right, or something. So anyway, so he shows up, on site there, and you see there's dead bodies all over the place, blood all over the place, and you see like this ritual circle drawn in blood with symbols and stuff all like that in the middle. Like obviously a lot of blood has been spilled to do this. And he goes over there they're like, "Oh, this is crazy, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is amateur stuff." And so he like goes to the circle and he makes like some changes and adjustments and stuff. And he's like, "Okay, now it should work."
Right, because essentially he said they fucked it up. They were so close to it, but they didn't know their stuff well enough.
Right. So he fixes the circle, and then looks around, finds this little girl, who kills the cop immediately. Like, I don't know, drinks his blood or whatever, it kills him. And then he manages to coax her into the circle to where I guess she's kind of bound, but not really.
I was confused by that. If that was a summoning circle, usually a summoning circle you get trapped within the circle, and that's why you're not allowed to break the circle. But he was standing right in it, and she was standing outside of it.
I don't know. Maybe it like weakens her, opens her up to influence, or I don't know, whatever. So then he puts a little shackle on her foot, which is supposed to bind her. And then he just says we're gonna have some fun, and then it goes to dopey guy getting married, showing how much he loves his girlfriend and how cute they are together, blah blah blah. And then he jumps in the car with his brother and his two best friends, and they're going to go to Garden City for a crazy bachelor party.
Yes, the knockoff of Atlantic City.
I guess, right. Because Atlantic City is in the Garden State. Maybe that's why they were calling it Garden City. I have no idea. But yeah, so they go to this place and it's like, oh, look, there's a sign for this strip club. They go to this strip club and it is like, of course, subpar.
It is a Tuesday afternoon.
yeah. Well, Tuesday afternoon at like any regular like urban area strip club, it's like that seems to be like their Saturday night. So
yes,
everybody's kind of disappointed, and they're still drinking, and the brother's trying to spice things up by having them eat mushrooms and stuff. And so they do all that, and then they decide that this one guy pulls them aside. Is like, hey, this place is pretty lame. I know this super awesome place. If you want to follow me, we can go. Like, okay, so they all follow this guy in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they go to like this big, like, plantation house in the middle of this like spooky forest. And they get out and they go in, and it's basically like a very high end, like bordello looking place.
It's almost like eyes wide open.
Eyes wide shut.
Eyes wide shut. And meets the place from dusk till dawn.
The titty twister. Come on, dude. You are failing on all these names, dude.
I am.
So they go into the basement, and they're, it's your typical stage, bar, strip club kind of setup. There's like a bunch of like, interesting characters, like a guy with a scarred face with like looks like a Civil War era officer uniform on. I mean, it's just a bunch of like interesting, weird looking people. And so like the stripper ladies come out, and they're all like, doing weird stuff. They got weird outfits and, kind of occultish themes and dances and shit. And so they decide like, oh, first timers, we have something special for you. So they bring him into this back room. But he goes, okay, we got something special for you. What do you want? And they're like, oh, well, he doesn't want sex because, he doesn't want to cheat on his fiance, but he wants something wild and crazy. He's like, okay, great. God, that's the thing. He's like, you go straight in the back, and then your friends are going to pay for everything.
Oh, yes. And we have to keep in mind, this is the guy that was the occult expert.
Yeah. This is the same dude from the beginning.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, so to pay for your friends, enjoyment, you have to, look down at your shoes and then think of your favorite memory of your mother. And so they do, and they're like, and he's like, okay, great, thanks. You gave it to me. You don't miss it because you don't remember it. So whatever, great. We get no explanation for it at that time. We see the guy in the back. He kind of walks up to this, like, it looks like a peep booth, right? It's got like a window.
Yes, that you would put a corner in the window. The window would open up, and there's like usually a girl on the center stage.
Yeah,
windows all around it. That's what it looks like.
Well, I'm glad you know what a peep show looks like inside. It's good to know.
Wow.
Hanging out at truck stops.
If didn't we see something like that in New York?
He goes up to the glass and there's like a girl in there, a naked girl, and she basically just starts like singing your typical kind of siren sound, right? If you've heard from any movie. And he like then has flashbacks to like every sexual experience he's ever had in his life, it seems. And he's like, oh, this is all great. So then, he, has a good time, stumbles out into the hallway, and then goes to walk back into the other room, and he notices that the door to where the area where the girl is in has a big padlock on it.
Right.
And he's like, oh, she's locked in there. So they, he goes back down, and he's like, oh, they're all hanging out at the bar now. Their one friend has a drink with like a leech in it.
Yes.
And it like he drinks it and he's reliving this weird murder fantasy or whatever, and he's all messed up. So the other three are kind of discussing like, hey, I found this girl upstairs. She's locked in. I think this is like some kind of sex trafficking thing. We need to save her. So he sends his brother and the guy that's, having the weird murder fantasy drink. He sends them out, go get the car ready. Me and this other guy are going to go upstairs and save her. And then we're going to bring her out and we're all going to run, take off.
Yeah.
So the brother and the murder fantasy guy go out and get in the car. And then the bachelor and his other best friend go upstairs. They somehow get the padlock off using a Swiss Army knife. Then the girl comes out. She has the shackle and she's not wearing anything else, but he gives her his like over shirt. He has a button up shirt on. And so then they try to escape. And then the house is kind of like a maze that seems to be almost like it's changing. But anyway, they get lost. And there's like these weird bouncers that have these like, masks on that are chasing them around. Basically ends up capturing the best friend. But in the process of him getting captured, they get the keys, which of course he's carrying the keys to the shackle on her foot.
Of course.
So they unlock the shackle on her foot. And then she just starts murdering people.
Oh, yeah.
So she's murdering people, drinking blood, going everywhere. We see that, her like face splits apart and like she's got tail and everything. Like bad stuff is happening. So the one dude just runs, right? Okay. So the bachelor guy runs outside. He gets in the car and he's like, just go. And he's like, what about the other guy? Just go. So the other guy does actually make it out. And he gets in the car as they're running away. So they're driving, away as fast as they can. Everyone is running out in droves at this time because, murder and mayhem is happening. So they're driving down the road and the girl who apparently now has like big fleshy bat wings flies in, grabs murder fantasy guy, pulls him out of the car, kills him. He's dead.
He dead.
So then they all crash because of that happening. So then they're all kind of running through this swampy forest trying to, get out. They don't know where they are. They're just like running in random directions, trying to figure out where they are. The one best friend guy gets separated from them. He gets captured and taken back to the house. Yes. So it's the guy and his brother are both like running, trying to get away. So the guy and his brother get to a diner of some kind. I think it's just like a diner. They find police inside. And they're like, oh, police, you got to help us. There's crazy murder stuff happening. And they're like, oh, really? Where at? And they're like, oh, this, the vampire bordello or whatever the hell it is. And the guy goes, oh, okay, hold on. Let me take care of this. So he turns around to make a phone call and he's got the little mark on his neck that all the people have that gave their memory, quote unquote, to the Mr. Nix. So he's got one too. It's like, oh no, he's one of them. So they like end up trying to escape. The lady attacks and kills the cops. And then the brother gets away. Yeah, the brother gets away and the whatever demon lady thing captures the bachelor guy and then flies away with him.
To her love nest.
A love nest, which it looks like just a big, like, open mass grave. I don't know.
Yes.
It looks like a graveyard. It looks like a big open mass grave, but that's where it is. So she flies him there and rapes him. I mean, there's no easy way to put that. That is what happens. He's like fighting it like no, and so she uses her like magic siren powers to like make him think that he's boning his fiance. But of course he's not. And then he does wake up in the middle of it and then tries to say no again, and then she like double rapes him with her weird penis tail thing. Yeah. So it's bad news for everybody. And then they finish, she rolls over and passes out, and then he runs away. He runs back to their hotel room. And there's Medusa is there. I don't know how else to describe her. She's basically, she was the bartender back at the bar, and she had like this goofy blue wig on. But we find out when she takes the blue wig off, she's got like bleach head hair. So she's kind of like Leech Medusa.
Yes.
And basically she can steal the memories by taking a leech off her head, sticking it to the back of their neck, and then whatever memory they're thinking of at that moment, the leech steals. And then that's how, like when the guy drank that drink and he would remember a murder, that was the leech. Because he ate the leech, that's what was happening. So they tortured the best friend that they had captured earlier. And then they had her steal that memory and then made him drink it so that he experienced torture.
Pain, yeah.
Yeah, so he experienced the torture pain, and then Nyx told him, if you don't come back, your friend is going to be dead. So he goes back. But this time they go to the church. This is the same church that the beginning happened in.
Right.
So they go there. He's got like, I don't know, cultists, people hanging around in like black robes. They don't last very long. So he's got one bouncer with the mask left because the other one did get killed.
That was the other bouncer's brother too.
Yeah, his brother. So yeah, one bouncer's there. Mr. Nyx is there. So the Bachelor gets there and lures her in. Nyx basically tells him, hey, you have to, here's the shackle. You have to put it back on her foot because, now she's mated for life now. Yeah. So now this is like, you have to put this on her and get her in this circle so that we can, put her back where she belongs.
Right.
So then she comes in, she murders all the black cloaked people. And he lures her into the circle, and then when he's at the point of, I should put this, shackle on you, he decides not to. And he basically makes a deal with her of like, hey, if we just like go our own separate ways, like I go home, you go home, I'll let you just kill everybody and then leave.
Yep.
So yeah, he doesn't put the shackle on her, she just goes and kills everybody. And then, like, they're just supposed to go their own way. So they decide to go their separate ways. And then, they just kind of leave. The brother comes in and tries to save the day at some point, and he just gets killed.
Yep.
So then it's basically just the one guy and his friend that was tortured, but then, they stole the memory and then gave it to the other guy. Anyway, he's apparently still alive. So they go back to their lives, and then we fast forward 1 year later. Well, I'm assuming they say it's their anniversary. I'm assuming it's their 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, the fiance's downstairs, like, looks like she's getting ready to watch a movie. And she's like, come on down. It's our special night. He's like, okay, I'll be down in a minute. So then like he hears the siren song for like a second and his heart stops. And then he's like, oh no, okay, I'm fine. And then he looks in the hallway and then he sees his fiance, like, and all doing sexy dance stuff. So then they do the sexy dance. And then, he's all like satisfied at the end and he's like, oh, I'm going to go down and get myself a snack. So he goes downstairs and he sees his fiance in the bed or on the couch, passing out in like the clothes she was wearing earlier. So that's when he realizes that, like she did not just go back to her own way. No, she's back to like claim him as her mate for life. So he tries to like just get her to move out the door. The girlfriend wakes up as she's moving out the door and starts screaming. So then the demon jumps on her and tries to kill her. And then he goes, no, don't kill her. I'll go with you if you just leave her alone. So she just goes, okay. And she grabs him and then flies away.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the end of the movie.
I like you.
Oh.
So what's your first thoughts on it? I know you haven't seen this either, right? This is the first
the movie?
time.
No, yeah, I've not seen it before.
I mean, what's your first thought, I guess, of the movie and in comparison to the original segment?
I think the original segment worked much better because I mean, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what kind of creature she is or anything. She just is some kind of creature, right? That's it. That's. I don't think you need any more than that.
Right.
I think getting all this backstory just kind of takes away from it. There are major problems that I have with it that I will go into in my lows, unless you want me to go into it now because it's a pretty core thing to the movie.
We'll save it for the low points.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. And you know, it's nice that they had the same woman play the siren. That's the only really continuity, and kind of for appearance too, right? She had her face split open. She had, the bat-like wings, and we can only assume that maybe at the end of the original segment that either he's dropped from the sky or, she missed her mating bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think this works as a full feature film. The short story was inherently better.
Right. Correct.
So, why don't you get into what highlights you have, if any?
Yeah, I don't have many. I mean, as you mentioned, they did get the same actress to play the siren, which is interesting. No one else is the same. Not even the director.
Right.
The director is different. I mean, I think the original director, because he was doing something else at the time, so he came back to produce, but he wasn't the director on the film.
Right.
So yeah, everybody's different except for her, and that's cool that at least they brought somebody back. Her voice, the actual singing voice, that's actually her voice, which I thought, I thought that was interesting. That was fun, I guess. But yeah, every scene that she's in singing, that's actually her voice singing, which I thought was pretty cool.
Interesting.
And again, I liked Mr. Nix. I thought Mr. Nix was an interesting character. I don't think there's enough, backstory and rest of the film to go with him, but I think him as an interesting character is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. What do you got?
No, I mean, they with the lore, they're trying to, they could have made Mr. Nix kind of like this guy of wealth of knowledge that he would be able to understand other creatures that may have existed in this world, and potentially could have explored it that way. I think that'd be interesting to do.
Well, I mean, he knows, but he has no reason to tell anyone else, which is why he doesn't. Which is why, the Medusa lady is not explained. Why that other lady? I mean, because he has whatever partnerships with these creatures. But again, there's no explanation as to why. The old Mr. Nix thing I thought was interesting. Again, I just thought it was poorly used.
Right. And like I said, and the actress coming back as a siren was just a nice touch. With everything else being different, I think that was nice, and it was kind of a bad ending. In a way, not as bad as being dropped from the sky onto the hotel parking lot that was in the original story.
Right.
So I don't even think it's supposed to be the same characters.
No, it's not. I mean, it's the same similar story, but not the same. No.
Yeah. Do you want me to roll into my low points before you get to your major one?
Sure.
Okay. Surprisingly, the quality of the VHS version was hands down better than this one. It seemed grittier just because it was the old tape. And I don't know if it would have worked better as a found footage movie, and maybe it would have, honestly. Because the effects weren't great. Let's put it that way.
No, definitely not.
And they really kind of skipped on the gore for the most part. I'm like, yeah, the guy gets tortured. It looked like they just crowbarred his kneecap off.
Yeah.
And he was still able to get around without a kneecap, which is pretty damn hard to do.
Yeah. No, yeah. Your kneecap's gone. Your leg is not moving.
Right. Yeah, and just it felt really weird with their lore of how the circle worked and how bindings worked in comparison to anything else realistically that I've seen in other lores and stuff like that. Usually, if they cross the threshold, they're binded, and it just didn't make any sense for her just to kind of willingly give up her ankle to get binded like that. And I'm not saying she has to be naked the entire time, but that was a bad bodysuit.
Yes, it really, really was. To the point where, like, when she moved, you could see it stretching and stuff.
I was watching this, I'm like, wait a minute. She's not, like, I'm not saying she has to be naked the entire time. I'm like, this is bad bodysuit. Like, holy crap. Like I said, she is naked at one point in time, but it's only for the mating scene. But I'm like, wow, this is like, I couldn't tell what she was trying to wear. I'm like, either that or she's weird wrinkles in her body somewhere, that weird movement, and just, it was very distracting to see that, like, not quite tan bodysuit.
Right.
And everyone has, there's always that one asshole at every bachelor party in these movies that just pushes everything too far. And that's the brother.
Well, it's usually what makes the bachelor party go out of control.
I know. Yeah, those are my major gripes. What about you?
My main problem that I have is that I don't think the people who wrote this film know what a siren is. You know what I mean? Because the creature that is in this film is not a siren. It's very clearly a succubus.
Yes.
Like, fleshy wings, fleshy tail, drinking blood using lust as a power. This is a succubus. Like, sirens don't do that. Like, sirens, mythical sirens were just beings that would call sailors into the rocks. They weren't trying to, like, get a mate with them or anything like that. They were just trying to get them to die.
Yes, they're there to kill them.
And as they've progressed later on in, like, other mediums and stories and things like that, they've progressed to being kind of like winged creatures that usually try to, like, lure men in and then mate with them. That is true. But most of the time they have feathers. Yes. I've never seen one without feathers. And I've also never seen one that murders in the way that they do. They just usually, mate, or whatever. Again, that's not their main purpose. Now, this one is just, it's very clearly they were using a succubus, but calling it a siren.
Yeah.
And I just don't get why can't you just use a fucking siren? Like if you're going to name your film that, you're going to base it around that. Can't you, like, read a fucking book? Like, read a story on what a fucking siren is? Like, call your movie Succubus then. I mean, it's never mentioned in the story that, oh, this is a siren. I get that. But you named the movie that.
Yes.
Meaning that what this is. It's not. That's like having a movie about mermaids and then it's just a bunch of fish. Like, that's not a mermaid. It's a fucking fish. I mean, is it similar? Sure, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
I was just very put off by that. I'm like trying to figure out where the siren fit into this. Now, the first one, the original short story very well may have been. We didn't get enough of that backstory there to know what was happening. Maybe that is the siren. We don't know. Right. We didn't really see her wings either, so we don't know. Maybe she had feather wings. We don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
So again, the first one works in that format because, again, we don't, siren could be that, but she didn't sing or have her voice or anything in the first one.
No.
So
her eyes were big and doughy. She just whispered, "I like you," and that was pretty much it.
Right. Again, it's like. It's a succubus. I don't know why you're calling it a siren. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of mythological creatures annoys me. Okay. Well, after that is the stag party. The whole idea. I fucking hate stag parties. I've been to a lot, and they're never that much fun. The best ones I've been to are always the ones that you don't go to a fucking strip club. You just like sit around and drink and play cards.
Yep.
That's fun. Okay. Going to a strip club is not fun because you're just throwing money everywhere. And then, whoever's getting married is like, everybody needs to buy things for me. Like, so you're spending like hundreds of dollars. It sucks. It's pointless.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's people out there that love it. I don't. I just think it's fucking stupid. But, let's see. Oh, the scene where he is avoiding the carnage in the diner by putting in his earbuds. Now, there are gunshots going off, and we can barely hear them.
Yes.
Okay? These are fucking earbuds. There is no way in hell that earbuds are that good.
No.
Okay? I have, like, professional shooting, like, earphones that, like, protect your ears from gunshots. And I can hear more in those than I could through those fucking earbuds.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also put in here about the fucking bodysuit, but also the scene where they show her like claws on her hands. They are very clearly just like fingertip glued on claws.
Yes.
Like they're very, very bad looking. Very bad. The effects on the Medusa leech hair. Wow.
That was they look like the creatures from the Faculty that came out. What was that?
Okay, I'm gonna go back.
Years.
I'm gonna go back further than that. I'm gonna say this looks like Lawnmower Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
that was
very
the
good.
level of computer graphics used for the leeches on her head was Lawnmower Man, which came out in the 90s.
93, I believe.
Yeah, it was pre Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Ridiculously like early, as we'll see later on. There's a VR that uses those kind of graphics, but again, it's the time period of.
Yes.
Or at least kind of close. I don't know if they had that shit in the 80s, but I'll forgive it.
I don't think so, but
I'll forgive it. I mean, they had max headroom.
Yeah, they did.
So, I mean, I'll forgive it. They're kind of sort of there. But yeah. So but those effects were fucking terrible.
Yes, they were.
But that's it. You got anything else?
Never follow someone into the middle of the forest that you don't know like that. That's
yeah, okay. if you're at a shady fucking strip club and some guy goes, "Hey, I know a cool place if you follow me into the woods." No,
that's when you get murdered.
Yeah, do not do that.
No.
Like best case scenario, it's gonna be like a bunch of hill folk jumping out naked, dancing around. Like that's best case scenario.
Right.
Like there are lots of worse scenarios, and they're all involve murder.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, that's all I got for the low points.
Okay, so how many we're doing beta decks as in beta players, as in beta tapes, like old analog beta tapes, as in the antithesis of VHS back in the 80s. Beta decks out of 10. How many would you give this?
I have to look at these movies as a whole in this episode and realize how bad the next one is and scale it with that. So I'm going to go with 2.5 beta decks out of 10. How about you?
Yeah, mine's close. Yeah, two beta decks out of 10.
Yes, this movie failed to be required as a feature film.
Yeah, no, again, this is a pointless film. I mean, they added some interesting things, but they did absolutely nothing with them.
No. All right, that's perfectly fair.
Okay, so the next movie we have here is Kids versus Aliens, which came out last year.
Yes.
So go
you
for
wouldn't
it.
think it came out last year, but it surprisingly did.
Mm-hmm.
In case you did you notice that all these movies are made by the same production company?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're spin-offs of the original. I'm sure they own all the IP.
Yeah. So the long and short of Kids versus Aliens, the premise is kind of the same as the alien abduction slumber party, right? To the point where, yes, it's a bigger sister that is watching over her younger brother. Her parents are just not found. But we are introduced to kids making their own home movies about road warrior wannabes with swords. Is that a good way to describe them?
Backyard wrestlers.
Backyard wrestlers that are fighting dinosaur aliens.
Right.
And you get introduced to a big, Billy? Is that his name? No, Billy was
the guy with the rose on his neck.
Yes. I'm blanking on the younger brother's name.
Gary.
He introduced his two friends, and his older sister Sam, who I don't know how old she's supposed to be. My guess is 16. And Gary's maybe 10. It's my best guess.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Billy and his two cronies come up. It's I thought this barn was empty. We were going to have a party here. They're drinking and smoking. I'm like, this is clearly, as we find out later, their property, because the parents, she makes it to the parents that they got him the wrestling ring they're using for the movie. So it's very clearly their property. But all of a sudden, Billy sees Samantha and is immediately smitten with her. I know you from school. Why are you doing anything of the losers? Blah blah blah.
He's not smitten with her.
Well, we're led to believe he is.
Well, if you believe that, then you are more naive than she is.
I'm saying
he very clearly looks at his friends and winks while he's fucking doing it.
Yes, she is led to believe that he's.
Yes, correct. There you go.
So in this process, he's starts fighting the friends, and something happens where brother's arm gets broken. We see parents we just came back from our business trip and we're immediately leaving again today after we just got back. You planned this poorly.
What happened? Okay, here's what happens. That she was all into making the movies with her younger brother and her friends. She was that was her thing too. She meets the guy. She gets all, googly eyes, right?
Yep.
She starts stalking him on social media. He shows up to her house uninvited.
Yes.
She invites him into her room immediately. And then she blows off her little brother because the brother comes in hey, you want to go make a movie with us? And she's like, no, I don't like you anymore. I don't make stupid baby movies anymore. I'm with my boyfriend now. So they start making out, immediately, shirt comes off, everything. They jump in and try to mess with them. And then Billy just treats him like total fucking shit. And she just goes along with it.
Yes.
And then, so they're okay, fine, we're going to go make movies on our own. So they go make movies on their own, and he attempts the backyard wrestling ladder match move where he jumps off the ladder and breaks his arm.
Yes.
Because she wasn't there to tell him not to climb on the fucking ladder.
Right.
And that's how they ended up in the hospital.
Run your bikes to the hospital. Like I said, parents go there, this was a bad day for us. You should have planned this better type stuff. You're lucky to have parents like us. No, they're not. But yeah, it's oh, you can ride your bike home, right? Cool. See ya. We're leaving again.
Right. Yeah. So we get the whole 30 seconds of parents in this entire movie.
Yes. So eventually they get back, and then with all this, stuff, we see the cronies out on a docks, what are we doing for Halloween? We gotta do something for Halloween. We're gonna have a party. Where? I'm working on it. And then, he woos her some more and convinces her, hey, we should have a party here. Your parents aren't gonna be here. Just a few people will be over, nothing too big. And convince her to do that. And so they start having a party where they very, very much start trashing the house to the point where like they're painting on the walls.
Yeah.
My parents never let me do that. Like, cool. You know, she's dressing as her wrestling character she really likes with her cape and her crown and her sword, which, you know, Billy pretended to be interested in because she had action figures and was still kind of, you know, tomboyish, I would say. You know, but all of a sudden she's getting this attention from this boy that is clearly an asshole, but she's too smitten because he's sexy, right? Sure, why not? So anyway, yeah, all this is
That's
going
okay.
on.
Women can like sexy men. That's okay.
I know. So yeah, she starts trying to kick people out of the party when she see that they're, you know, destroying the house, because Billy's like, oh, you won't know that their party would have been here. You know, we'll clean up, we'll take it easy, and then, like I said, clear destruction. And then the brothers, who had been kind of absent a little bit, and his friends get a drone and start spying on him, start broadcasting over the TV of what's going on there. You know, Sam used to be cool. She used to hang out with us and calling her out on the shit. And like, here's what Billy's doing.
Well, this is after Billy physically threatened her.
Oh yeah.
So like, you know, he goes, well, you know, we can't make these people leave. This is my party. He's like, oh, this is my house. We're like, this is my party.
Right.
You're not going to do that. And she's like, you're scaring me. And he's like, good. You know,
yeah.
So again, he was a huge fucking asshole to her, scaring her, threatening her before this.
Right. And then you get the drone shot of like, oh, he was, you know, peeing in all over your room. And then he boned his crony on her bed. And then we get a flashlight. And I forgot to mention that we start off the movie with clearly what are supposed to be crab fishermen, you know, getting crabs or lobster, you know, the wild catch, deadliest catch, whatever it is. And like,
they're not in they're right off the coast. They're not in deadliest catch territory. But yeah, they are trying to fish for something that goes into a cage device.
Yes. Looks like a lobster cage.
Well, we don't see what's in the cage. They don't catch anything, so we can't tell what they're trying to catch.
And the big light comes there, and all of a sudden the two people are there with the captain get taken. We see a hand come out and grab the captain's face. So they're clearly swimming in water. So we definitely know it's not the aliens from Signs, because they're in the water.
Right.
Anyway, so then all of a sudden a big, you know, War of the Worlds siren, the big bong that happens with a big flash of light. I feel like it was the War of the Worlds siren that they used for the Martians.
Well, it's something similar. I'm sure it wasn't the same one because they can't afford that.
Correct. Yeah. So, you know, the brothers come in there and start. Well, sorry, the Billy determines that the brothers were broadcasting from inside the house, go there and start like threaten to re-break, you know, the brother's arm again. Then we got the big light, and then, you know, chaos ensued, right? People start freaking out. The power goes out. And we see like kind of like every window has an alien outside of it.
There's never more than 4 on screen at one time.
That's true. That's very true.
Pretty sure they only had 4 suits.
Entirely possible. So anyway, everyone gets captured except Sam, because she happens to go into her room and barricade herself in. And then once everything quiets down, then she goes, okay, I see, well, they mentioned there's like a weird fog-ish over the dock to, I'll go with the bay. What bay? I don't know, but I imagine it's in the New England area. And then Sam dons swimming gear, and she goes and happens to find the underwater ship that the aliens have, and goes in there, and we start seeing some, you know, interesting things. So one of the cronies is essentially dissolved with some goo. I think the other one, I think his name was Dallas. gets put into a different spot and he gets a different goo on him and starts mutating into, I would say, the alien creature from Bad Taste with sharp teeth and Edward Scissorhands hands.
I know what Bad Taste is, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay, it's Peter Jackson's alien movie. So anyway, Sam happens to find a random sword from a previous, I would say, species that the aliens got. I don't think it was a person because it was a shiny sword with a special crystal, it seems like.
I don't know, but there was clearly armor there, and she left that.
Yes.
So
just for the sword.
Right.
And she happens to start, just slicing and dicing the aliens up. They go to leave. Billy takes the only scuba suit and he's like, flicks him off, like, fuck you and peace out. And then they eventually get there. One of the friends couldn't think he was going to make it. I'd be in the same boat. But she ends up, she starts getting attacked underwater, but she eventually emerges with the friends. The brother and the other friend make it okay. They go to try to go to their house, and then Billy's inside the house and locks them out of their own house. And then aliens start coming out of the water. So does Dallas, who just bursts through the glass and starts attacking Billy, who then runs through the front door and hides in his car and gets attacked by Dallas. But I think is that before that? Before that, they're cornering him, and he, takes the sword and then just pierces right through one of the friends.
No, that's after they, like, that happens while the kids and Sam are all running for the barn to hide.
Oh, yes.
Because the barn doesn't have any windows. So they run to the barn, and they get to the barn. When they get there, Billy is already there.
Yeah.
And Billy's like, oh, this is my hiding spot. And so then they wrestle with him. He takes the sword and threatens to kill the sister. And then the kids save her by jumping on his back and stuff. Yeah. She then leaves the children alone, doesn't take the sword out of Billy's hand, lets him keep the sword in his hand, leaves the three children alone with an armed Billy to go in the other room for a fucking costume change.
Yes.
She puts on, like, football pads and then comes back as Billy is literally stabbing through one of the children.
Yes. Yeah, so, she downs the hero's gear from their movie.
Right.
Yeah. So while they're tending, they're trying to, like, tell the friends, like, oh, you'll be fine, and he's still clearly not dying.
He's not doing well, but
he's not doing well.
Yeah, if he missed his spinal cord, he'd be alive for a little while. It's just a gut stab.
Yeah.
So essentially they kind of they try to run away. The one kid stays with the injured kid, and then the other two run away, while the aliens are chasing them. And then basically they get to a point where the aliens have cornered them, and they're just, like, screaming for help. And then they kind of sort of get help, right? By, like, Dallas attacking fucking Billy or whatever the hell even happened. I don't even know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I think he kills Billy, but somehow they stab and kill Dallas in the process. So then aliens are coming up into the attic, and then also a huge tractor beam turns on and starts sucking the brother who's hanging on to his older sister. And, like, okay, what do we do? And to try not to let go. And the dying kid's like, the grand finale. It's like, what's grand finale? So the other kid who was staying with him puts on this huge pile of fireworks they're going to use for the grand finale of the movie, puts it on the Ryan lawnmower, and then essentially poured some, I think he even poured some gasoline onto it, and then, makes it go, and then it gets sucked into the ship, which then blows it up, destroying the spaceship in the process. So the sister and brother come down. They're like, all right, we gotta get him to the hospital. He's not gonna make it. Yeah. They start heading out there. Somehow they're gonna ride their bikes with a guy who was stabbed through. And then there's also like 4 aliens. As you said, there's only 4 on the screen at that time. Show up, they're getting ready to fight, and then military comes, shoots them all down, figures out, hey, like, oh no, we got another one of these things, another situation. They get put in like a cryostasis or something like that. Like, I don't know.
They didn't have enough money to do anything, so they're just standing there.
Yeah. We see another spaceship kind of overhead. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna take them away, leaving up the cliffhanger for the next movie, Kids versus Aliens 2. And then we have a nice little post-credit scene where there was an alien that was still inside the house. The mom comes home and she gets the same goo poured on her that Dallas does. End of movie.
Yep.
Okay. First thoughts for me on this being a feature film versus the short film. Once again, not needed. This was absolutely not needed. I don't think it furthered the plot.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like the short one. I thought the short one was like one of the worst shorts in VHS 2. I don't know why that one got its own spinoff.
Right. Yeah.
It was annoying then. It's extra annoying in longer format.
Yes. And the plot of this is drastically different, especially the ending. I think in the original that the sister was more in line with the Billy and the crew right off the bat, wasn't seem to have that strong of a bond.
Yeah, but the boyfriend was not a complete shitbag. He was just a boyfriend.
Right.
It was just a normal teenage relationship. It wasn't this like weird manipulative fucking
toxic bullshit
fuckboy relationship that I don't know what the hell, I don't know what the point of putting that in there was.
Right. And they all either die or get abducted in the short, and this time they're just taken by some shady government types. What are your thoughts on obviously a little bit you said about this movie being made into a full feature film? Yeah, 9 years after the fact. Yeah,
again, that's it. It boils down to that. I didn't really like the original short. I think that was probably one of my least favorite. I don't know if it was my least favorite, but definitely one of the bottom 2 favorite shorts for that film. I did not think it was that great. I don't know why that one spun off into its own movie. There's plenty of other ones between all the VHSs that I thought were more deserving.
Almost all of them.
Yeah,
would be better.
Yeah, so again, I didn't really like the original one. I really did not like this one because I'm pretty sure they had the same fucking budget for both of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm just looking up because we listed our least favorite of these. I'm just looking back at this. Your worst one was no, your worst ones are right in the park. My worst one was Slumber Party.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it was the bottom 2. It might not have been my least favorite, but it was right down there. It's definitely not the best.
Oh yeah. So yeah, lots of stuff to redo instead.
Right.
Why don't you go into your highlights if you have it?
I really only have one, and that's I liked some of the music.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I got.
I mean, it ended. That was good.
Right.
No, the music was good. Yeah, and just unnecessary shoehorning and all that crap. I'll just roll into my low points then. If you want to go, unless you want to go first.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that suck in this movie. I mean, there's the parents suck. Billy sucks. Billy's friends suck. The alien suits are fucking horrible. I mean, the alien suits are. This is how the good, how quality, level that they have here. Like, when you watch like a zombie movie or a zombie show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the frontline zombies, right? These are the ones that spend the time in the makeup chair, right? These are the ones with all the effects and everything. These are the ones that the camera's made to focus on. And then you have the ones that are right behind them. They're not quite at that level. They're usually wearing like a masks or pre-made shit, right? But they still look good enough. They still provide the background for those main ones. And then you got the third level ones, which are just guys that are just kind of like painted up, wearing just like raggedy clothes and shit. These are background type people, right? They're just there to like fill in space so that if you look at them, like, yeah, okay, that looks like a zombie, but they're not going to focus on them in any way whatsoever. The fucking alien suits are all tier 3 alien suits. Like, there should have been 2 more layers of aliens in front of these ones to make those ones look plausible. They are fucking horrible. When they walk, you can clearly see them stretching around like this is not their clothes over a guy walking. I mean, they're just so stupid looking. Their faces never move. Nothing. Their fingers are literally flopping off the ends of their real fingers. I mean, they are just some of the worst looking fake suits I've ever seen. I don't even know how much they paid for these suits. I hope it wasn't much. But they very clearly only had 4, because you never see more than 4 of them at any one time. And if you look at the credits of the movie, there's only 4 people being credited as aliens in this movie.
Yeah.
So that means there could only be 4 of them on screen at one time. It means there was only 4 suits. Anyway, the sword that she had was the dumbest looking fake sword I've ever seen in my life. It looked like when you try to make a 3D printed cartoon sword.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. It was ridiculously out of proportion. It very clearly was made out of foam or something. It didn't even reflect light correctly. It was very clearly rough styrofoam, spray painted with silver paint. It was terrible. I mean, whoever did the props on this movie should be ashamed of himself. I mean, the FX were just fucking, horrible. The only ones that were of any, I think, quality was when they showed the girl getting dissolved.
Yes.
Those were okay. I mean, those look like they did a pretty decent job. I know it was very clearly just a suit mask that they had on her, but she was talking while she was melting, and it looked fun. It looked interesting, right? That was good. That was the only effect that was good. All the rest of them were fucking horrible.
Well, they clearly only had the money for the one shot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they blew all their money on that, and then everything else was done. I mean, you're talking the chain that they were chained down with was very clearly somebody 3D printed squares and then flipped them together, because I mean they were terrible looking. The one alien is wearing a crown that's very clearly a 3D printed shit crown.
Yep.
Oh my god, dude. It was horrible. Anyway, so yeah, all that sucks, all that's bad. Now, the thing that really, really bothered me about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha looks exactly like one of my ex-girlfriends. And I'm not saying this a little bit, she looked exactly like her. I was like, wow. I mean, obviously it's not her, because she looked like that years ago. She doesn't look like that now. But when I dated her, she looked exactly like Samantha, and it was freaking me out the whole time. That was the worst part of it. But yeah, everything else sucked. So what do you got?
Oh yeah, the design of everything was absolutely awful. I felt sorry for those people having to wear that crap coming out of the water as aliens.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been very fun, to say the least.
The worst part was when they were walking through the forest, trying to drag the people.
Mm-hmm.
You could very clearly see a human moving underneath the suit, and the suit was painted wrong.
Yeah,
you could tell they painted the suit on a mannequin and never bothered to reshade it for the person that put it on.
Yep.
So it's like, again, these are third tier alien suits, and they should not be in the foreground, but they are.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, like I said, it's just everyone who listens to this knows that we don't necessarily enjoy kid acting when done horribly, and this was done horribly. Every piece of it. I mean, I would say Sam was probably the best actor in the entire thing, and that's not saying a lot.
Yeah, no, she was okay. Like I said, aside from her looks, she performed well.
Yes. Billy and the cronies were awful. Just.
Yeah, I mean, comically evil. I mean,
yes.
Comically evil.
Yes, very comically evil.
We're talking like more comically evil than like John Hughes bullies. Like these are just comically evil people.
Yeah. And, you know, the whole idea of an alien spaceship being in the water is weird. And I don't think it would happen. Yeah.
I mean, that's not all that weird because, like, if a ship can, like, stand up to the rigors of space, it can stand up to water. That's not difficult to do. The difficult thing is that the fucking spaceships just look like rocks with holes in them.
Yes.
They don't look like spaceships at all. They just look like meteors or something. And, like, the inside of them just looks like rocks.
Yes.
Like, they just look like mobile caves. It does not look like a spaceship.
No. And it's just, everything about it was absurd. I know they set up for a sequel to give us invested in it, and I sure hope there's not one.
I hope so. I mean, like, again, I know the same director and the same writer like did both of these, the short and this one, and I know they all said like they're more ready to make more, but they have to see how well this first one does. I really don't think it did. I hope it didn't do well. I hope there isn't more. But again, with how much the budget was in this movie, it's going to be a hard sell to not make another one because they're probably super cheap to make.
Yeah. Very, very cheap to me. I don't see a budget on here.
yeah. It's just I don't think it exists. It was like stuff they had in their backyard.
Yep. All right. Once you give us your rating.
Kids versus Aliens. 1 beta deck out of 10.
I am in complete agreement. 1. Oh man. You know, this wasn't exactly these first two movies were not exactly the palate cleansers we were looking for.
Well, those two, no. The next one was pretty good. I mean, yes. I did enjoy this one. I really have. There's only been one VHS movie that I did not like.
That was viral.
And that was viral. I mean, there was still good points to it, but overall it sucked.
Yeah.
But so obviously VHS 85 is the next one. Just came out a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Just gonna kind of go over all of the stories. I'm not gonna get too in depth. Well, I mean, they're shorts anyway. But we'll do this together here. Okay.
Yep.
So the main wraparound that takes place in the beginning, at the end, and in the middle of all these is I'll call it Rory. I'm not really exactly sure what the name of it. What is it called?
Rory.
Oh, it's just called Rory. Okay.
The wraparound is. I had that. I don't remember what the wraparound is called.
All right. Well, I'm just going to call it Rory. So, essentially, like, as scientists find some kind of being, they say they found it in a mesa in the desert. So, They basically put it in like a cell type situation, and the cell looks like a living room from 1985. It's got a couch and TVs and everything, and they basically force this being to watch television, right? Television, movies, anything like workout videos, anything that they can find, right?
From 1985.
Yeah, from 1985. So it has the appearance of like kind of a child, but it's like a I don't know, it looks like a blobby child that's in some kind of like cocoon is what it looks like. And it's like slimy. It's like covered in slime. Now, nothing happens for weeks. I'm just going to go through the whole thing. I'm not going to chop it off.
Oh, by the way, it's called Total Copy.
Total Copy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Rory was the name that they gave to the shapeshifter thing. So, So basically, over time, they make it watch things, and then after a few weeks, it starts like changing shape to look like things that it sees on TV. Now, it
Yes.
doesn't actually like totally take over the shape. It's not like a total doppelganger where you can't tell the difference or anything. It just like moves and shifts. Now, it looks like whatever is underneath it is underneath like a kind of like a weird slimy cocoon thing. So
Just imagine a person with vanilla pudding dumped over them and then wrapped up.
yeah,
Like a bodysuit.
right. Yeah. So that's like what it is. So that's like, taking, the shape of things it sees on TV and stuff. And so they think it's communicating in that way because it doesn't communicate in any verbal or physical way other than that. So it freaks them out because it takes the shape of one of the researchers, but this researcher it's never seen. So like it never went in the room, to like collect samples or anything. So it doesn't know how they were able to see it. And they figure out it can see them through the one-way mirror that they think it can't see them, but it can.
And poor Gary was so freaked out by it.
Yeah, poor Gary was all freaked out. So anyway, it starts behaving weirdly. It starts like coughing up green stuff, like acting like it's kind of sick. So the one scientist decides it's sick. We need to do something. And so the other, head scientist lady is like, no, we don't touch this thing. We don't know what this thing is. This thing is extremely dangerous. Like, don't ever go in there. Right.
Yeah.
And so he decides, I'm going to go in there. So she leaves and she tries to get people to come with her. Nobody goes with her. She just leaves.
And she's being interviewed after all this too about the incident.
Right. Yeah. She's the one giving like the inside stuff. They have the tape, obviously, but she's the one giving like the behind the scenes type stuff.
Yeah,
so
right.
Anyway, so they make poor Gary go in there and like try to I guess they're going to inject it with some kind of medicine. How?
Adrenaline. They're going to shoot it up with adrenaline.
How would you? Why would adrenaline even do anything for like an alien thing? Like
something you don't know? Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, again, extremely dangerous. Which is the lady was very, very right to leave. Like this is stupid.
Right.
So anyway, so Gary doesn't even get to it. Gary gets close, doesn't even get to it. Like a big tentacle comes out, grabs Gary. Gary is trying to escape. They end up opening the door, breaching the protocol, opening the door, trying to drag Gary out. Another tentacle grabs Gary. They're trying to him, the main scientist and another helper lady are trying to drag poor Gary out of there. Eventually they're just like, this is too hard. We can't do it. Let Gary go.
Oh, this is fucking.
yeah. They like, fuck it. Let him go. Gary gets dragged in there. Now geniuses don't try to close the fucking door. Don't try to re-secure anything. No, they leave the fucking door open and decide to run away.
Yep.
So they run away and they get to the door and they can't open the door because the door is a palm scan. And because their hands are covered in blood, it won't read the palm scan. So they're standing there trying to get out and they can't. And tentacles come down and murder both of them. And then slowly drag them back into the room where it murdered Gary. To where we see the monster using its tentacles to make the three dead people do the workout video.
Yes.
End of short.
Yes. And interspersed with this is some commercials from the 80s. Like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Well, yeah, it's the format is that this was, taped off of television at some point in time.
Yeah.
And then somebody else had taped over it with the other shorts. That's why there's stuff interdispersed.
Right.
That's the format they're going with, which I thought was well done. I did like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have, because two of these are linked, but I'll
very much so.
Yeah. So I'll get to that when we get to that. So the first one is, essentially it's like a camping trip, right?
Yep.
It's like 7 friends decide that they're in this big RV taking their boat to like some lake and they're going to go camping. So they basically go out there. They go into the lake. There's 2 friends that don't go in the lake. The other 5 of them get in the lake and they're doing water skiing from their boat.
Yes.
They, as they're doing water skiing and stuff, they look ashore. They see a truck that's there. They're like, I wonder whose truck that is. Like the 2 people that were watching them on shore aren't there anymore. That's weird. All of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. All these gunshots start going off, right? So like
Yes.
one guy gets shot like in the head. I mean, well, actually, multiple people get shot in the head.
Oh, the water skier gets
Well, the water skier gets shot in the chest, and she goes down. Like everybody gets like the one girl gets shot in the mouth, and like her jaw like explodes, and like all flop over, and they're all obviously dead. And then after a while, they all get up and start moving around, and they're like, "This is weird. I feel okay." Like,
coming out,
right? Yeah, like
the jaw's coming off,
right? Like we're all obviously dead. Like what the hell is going on? So they go ashore and they see that the two people that were ashore were dead. They were killed
and stay dead.
And but they're dead, and the other 5 are alive. Well, actually 4 are alive because one person on the boat, I believe, didn't get wet, so they were dead. I think.
No, they all got just a tiny splash of water was enough, as we see.
So anyway, so anyone that went in the water at all is now like essentially immortal and can't die, even if they get shot in the head.
Yes,
and the one guy kind of proves this by like pulling out chunks of his brain as they're sitting there. So it said like they go back and they see a big Roman numeral 7 written on their RV in blood.
Yep.
And they're like, what the hell? And they're like, well, we got to figure out like who did this or what happened. And so they decide, oh yeah, we probably got the license plate of that truck on the tape. We need to look at the tape, get their license plate. We need to figure this out.
Right.
End of short.
Yeah. That's pretty much Zombie Lake.
Right. Yes. So that's end of that short. That's number 1. We'll come back to that later.
Yes, we will.
Okay, now we have the next one is I call it the Mexican news. I know the real name is God of Death, but it's Mexican news. Anyway, they show it's like a Mexican news. So they have like the lady in the in the anchor desk, and they have like a lady on the street. They're like chit chatting back and forth. A big earthquake happens. The lady at the desk dies. And then
very fast.
Yeah, very fast. And then the guy that was like the cameraman, he lives. And he gets rescued by like a team of, I don't know, earthquake rescues.
Earthquake first responders, yeah.
Like, I don't know. They're like immediately.
There's a scene of him, the camera guy, like he's pinned underneath part of the ceiling and like crushes his hands to be able to drag him out.
What? No, what?
He was
well, no,
screaming.
they had to leverage the rock to drag him out. That wasn't on his hands.
No, I'm saying he pulled something out from underneath the rock. I thought it was his hand.
No,
that's why he's complaining his hands hurt.
His hands hurt because he got crushed.
Oh, that too.
But no, his hands are functional because he's holding the camera.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's like, I don't know what, 4 of these earthquake people.
They just dive deeper and deeper into essentially the underground.
Right, yeah. So like things are crumbling all around them, so they keep like moving to where things are safe. And like the one leader guy gets killed by like rebar in the hallway, and they finish
rebar.
Yeah, so they have to finish him off so he doesn't suffer, and they go all the way down into like a basement, and they find like a, I don't know, like Mayan god statue down there, and it somehow possesses one guy, and they kill him, and then it possesses like another guy, and then the one girl escapes, and then the other guy fights and essentially loses.
Yep.
And then the other girl comes back,
perfectly clean.
Yeah, now she's perfectly clean. She kills everybody else, and she's then strips naked, and like pulls out heart, and then essentially like offers it to the god person who's like real.
Yep.
And he's dressed in like old, like, Technoteatland, like priest clothes.
Yes.
And so they like, eat the hearts together and blood and whatever, and that's it.
Yeah, it's I think it was September 19th, 1985. I'm pretty sure that's when the real life earthquake happened in Mexico.
That's very, very possible. I don't know. They did say September 19th multiple times, so that's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all there really. I mean, there's more stuff, but it's like, imagine a Mexican as above, so below with Aztec gods.
Yeah, but not as mind bending.
Yes, it was a September 19th, 1985 Mexico City earthquake that is real.
Okay. So whatever. That's it. So essentially Mayan gods got resurrected. Okay, so then we have the third one, which is
the world's worst one-woman show.
I like this show. But yeah, it's essentially a one-woman theater show. And she's basically going over, or what show is basically about how technology and VR is taking over the world, and it has killed God. And
in 1985.
Yeah, technology has killed God in 1985, and so now there must be a new God of technology, and now they need to find it in VR.
Yeah.
And she looks in VR and finds it, and it tears her apart on stage. And the people think it's part of a show.
And applaud.
And applaud, but it's not.
No.
So there was a real evil VR god in VR space that killed her, and that's it. It's a very dragged out show, but that's all there is. That's all that happens.
We get like the creator of the iPhones, as he calls them.
Well, yeah, iPhones is in EYEPHONES. Yep. iPhones, yes.
Yeah, and the gloves, like, oh, you can exist in two worlds at once. Realistically, you're not, because you're immersed in VR.
Well, yeah, right.
The outside world life.
Well, yeah, it's futurists of 1985 selling VR. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's essentially what that is. Okay, so now the fourth one is I'm gonna call it Ruth's Party. I'm not sure.
Ambrosia.
Okay. So essentially, it's like it looks like a girl's like high school graduation party. Is essentially what it looks like, right? From 1985. She's doing her Sunday best clothes. It's like a typical like family party, right?
Yeah, grandpa's there, aunts, uncles, weird cousins that like beta.
Exactly, right. So they're all like there, and then after like the I guess like the regular guests leave and like the hardcore family people stay.
Mm-hmm.
They realize that this is not a graduation from high school party. This is a graduation of Ruth, who's the girl who's, I don't know, they say she's like 16 or something, but whatever.
She lived as a kid, she said the sweet 16s to quinceañeras to bar mitzvahs to all the other religious type ceremonies.
Well, yeah. Well, again, we don't
coming of age ceremony.
Oh, yeah, I'm just guessing how old she looks. I don't know how old she is, but it's whatever it is. So their family does what they call the seven, and the seven is essentially they murder 7 people. And then that somehow is their coming of age type thing. And they're talking about how different family members can do it in different ways. So there's not a certain way that you have to do it.
Right. They said one aunt just poisoned people with brownies.
Right. Yeah. Arsenic brownies. So she essentially shows them a tape of her murdering the people at the lake that we saw in short number 1. So we see her shooting the people in the tent who were the 2 people left behind that didn't touch the water. And then we see her shooting at the boat and stuff, and then she leaves. Now, when she's outside, she does notice that there was an RV that came by, and the little kid was given a squirt gun, which was kind of shown in the first one as like they had this squirt gun, and they squirted her a little bit with the water. It does kind of a playful thing, but essentially what happens is the house gets raided by the police.
Somehow, after finally all this time, like 50 years.
Well, again, if you kill 7 people in the woods and nobody sees you do it,
I know,
and you have no relation to those people, it's very hard to catch you. That's why it's very hard to catch serial killers, because they don't have any relation or motive against those particular people.
Right.
So anyway, the police raid the house. Everybody, they pull guns and stuff out of everywhere. Like they're all
like out of their asses.
Right. Yeah. Out of the couch and the walls and the cabinets. There's guns everywhere. Like, mom has like a Mac 10. Yeah. Like arsenic brownie lady is an AK-47. I mean, there's like, we prepared for this. We knew it was coming. It's okay. Take as many as you can with you and then kill yourself. Don't let them take you.
Don't get taken alive.
Right, yeah. So they're all, shooting out with the cops. The 16-year-old girl and the creepy cousin who's holding the camera end up going to one of the bedrooms. Creepy cousin chickens out, can't do it. She shoots the creepy cousin dead.
Oh, yeah.
She shoots a couple of cops that come into the room. When it's pretty clear that she's going to be caught, she shoots herself in the head. And then wakes up.
And she gets rid of bullets first and then wakes up. alive, and then she shoots herself in the head and realizes that she's not dying, and then goes and proceeds to kill more.
Right, and then she gets caught, and then we get a kind of flashback to the people from the number one filling up the squirt gun with the water from the lake, saying that she just needs to get squirted with a little bit of it. So apparently they had found her and planned to do this to her. So
yes,
that's it. We don't get the whole story there, but we do get a little bit of a connection there.
Right, they weren't going to kill her; they were just going to make the killer unkillable.
Right. So then we have the next one, which is
Dream Kill.
I call it home invasions. Basically, the police are getting videos that are depicting a home invasion that leads to murder, like a mutilation, like serial murder.
Yes, like pieces of people.
Right, yeah. So bad things happen to these people. But again, the police are getting tapes of these murders. Like it's obviously this murder. People are wearing the same thing. House looks exactly the same. Everything's normal.
Body parts are in the same exact spot.
Right, exactly. But the police are getting these tapes days before the murders happen.
Yes.
So the cop gets the tape, watches the tape. 3 days later, the murder happens, and he's already seen it on this tape. So basically, this happens like 3 times. Or no, it happens 2 times, and they're like, okay, we got to watch the
drop off,
the drop box, where the mailbox where this is being sent in. We have to find out what's going on. So they see the kid. They end up capturing this kid, and this kid is, I think,
Topic off.
The worst interpretation. Hot Topic Goth is fine. This is 1985.
I know.
Hot Topic does not exist yet. Spooky kids don't exist yet. This kid is dressed like a spooky kid, like 10 years before spooky kids exist. Like, okay, 85 goths do not look like Marilyn Manson fans. I don't know who dressed this poor kid up, but it was obviously some millennial that doesn't understand what 80s goth is. It's like, look at Robert Smith. That is 80s goth, okay? Yep. It is not Marilyn Manson. Like, nope. Whatever. I was very upset because not only is he wearing, a spooky kid outfit, but it looks like they literally just fucking bought it. It is brand new. The blacks are so fucking black that they're like eating light. They're like, they just came off the rack. Like, the wig is so fucking fake, and they like tied it up in a way that makes it look extra fake.
Like just random ass strands everywhere. Like,
God, yeah. The person who did the costume design on him needs to be fired.
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, Salem's gonna absolutely take
my God. Seriously, I was I was in the group at that time. I know what they dress like. That's not whatever. So they capture him. He basically tells them, my dad bought me a VHS. I wanted a beta, but he bought me a VHS, and basically it records my dreams.
Right, and his dad's also part of the police force.
Yeah, somehow. Well, the dad was a cop, and the dad said he left to pursue other interests. The detective eventually figured out that he was forced out because he was stalking women.
But he becomes like a forensics video analysis.
Right, yeah. So basically, we find out that the dad was kicked out because he was stalking women. 2 of these murdered women were the women he was stalking. And the third one was the lawyer that was working for the 2 other women. So
for the sexual harassment cases.
Right, yeah. So these women are all definitely connected to him. So we know that it's him. The detective confronts him. He kills the detective. He goes back to the police station to try to kill his son, but the son has already seen this happen because he just recorded it and just watched it.
Yeah, fell asleep, watched it.
Yeah, and watched it. So he already knows how it goes. Basically, he attacks the police station, kills a whole shit ton of cops magically, like he's the Terminator.
No, I was going to say he watched Saw 7 and watched how Hoffman went through all the cops in the building and essentially did the same thing, but with a gun. Shot them all through
Hoffman only killed 4 cops.
I know.
Total. Okay. And he snuck in. This guy walked through the front door and murdered, I don't know how many, 20?
Yeah.
Who knows? He was like the Terminator. If you ever seen the Terminator, when he walks to the police station, he just murders
gets the fully loaded shotguns that are just there.
Right, yeah. He just murders this shit out of anywhere. So he kills all these fucking cops. He kills, like, just in that hallway, he kills like 6 cops.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, as he's murdering all these cops, Spooky Kid shoots him from behind, and then that's how it ends. As the kid finally, Gunther, I think was the kid's name.
Yes.
Gunther killed his dad, and that's how it ends.
He definitely looks like a Gunther. I mean,
yeah. Short over, and that's all of them. There's 6 total, one of them being the wraparound, and 2 of them being linked, 1 and 4.
Which I believe is a tie for number of things in here of segments for like the longest number.
I think that's how many they normally have. They usually have 4 and then a wraparound is usually what they do. Or some of them have 5.
I only had 3 as a wrapper, so.
Well, yeah, but Viral wasn't good.
Correct. So what was your, after we watched 84, was it 84 last year or was it 99?
90, it was 99 and 95, I thought, right?
Viral 99, 94. Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I knew it was 99 and then it went back a little bit, but still in the 90s. And then this was the 85.
Yep.
Next one's going to be 87.
Is that their official calling it?
I'm making it.
Well,
I don't know.
There is next one.
Oh, I'm sure there is, because now they're doing it every year, and that's fine.
Yes.
But, no, I'm gonna. My prediction is going to be 1987.
Okay.
Yeah. So what am I doing? What my favorite one was?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of went through our kind of first thoughts of this already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think it's a good return to form. That this method, this model is working for the VHS franchise.
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. The last 3 that have been Shudder specific, because Viral was before Shudder got it.
Oh yeah,
Viral was probably the reason why it was cheap enough for Shudder to buy. is my guess. Because Viral kind of tanked the franchise, and Shudder has thankfully brought it back and done a very good job with it since then.
Right.
But yeah, no, I definitely do like the format. I like what they're doing.
Yeah, and Scott Derrickson did Dreamkill, who we've seen in previous installments, who's done the Multiverse of Madness. He's done quite a number of things. Black Phone.
Again, yeah, it would have been good if the kid had a better costume.
Right.
Like the film itself wasn't bad. I just think the costume was horrible.
Yes. Oh, completely agree.
Yeah.
So we'll go into our bests and worst, right?
Yeah. Best one for me, I'm gonna go with God is Dead.
Oh, the Texas Gods?
Yeah. I like that one. Just like the whole 90s, really 90s CGI. But again, they did kind of have it back then. Not really in the VR stage, but I mean, whatever. It's a theater thing. I'll let them get away with it.
Oh, yeah, talking about Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, again, that was exactly the level of graphics. But again, that was like 90s graphics. Like, why they had it in 85. Again, I think it's just I'm old now. So like a lot of these like filmmakers aren't quite as old as me, so they don't quite understand like when things really happened.
Right.
And so I think, they're close. I mean, that's within 7 years. It doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but when you like intimately know it, like I do, because I lived through it. Yeah, I can tell you the difference between 85 and 92 computer graphics, but a lot of people can't. And I think that's just where it goes. But overall, I did like it. I like the kind of cool art, kind of art house part to it. I really like that. While she was being murdered, the people are standing there like, Is this a show? Is this part of it? Am I supposed to clap? And then they clap as she's dying. It was interesting. I think it was like just enough irony and kind of oddness that I liked.
No, I mean, when I said it was the world's worst one-woman show, I meant because if you have seen that in real life, that'd be an awful show to go see.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
I don't know. I completely agree. That is my favorite as well. I mean, was I alive in '85? Yes. Would I have remembered anything from it? No.
Well, see, yeah, '85 was like my formative years. Like I was watching the best movies of my life at this time.
But being more of a child of the late '80s and '90s, yes, the graphics were very reminiscent of Lawnmower Man, of the TV show Reboot, which was the mid '90s, and the Transformers Beast Wars, which was the mid '90s. So yes, the technology, the way it looked, was about 7 to 10 years ahead of its time.
That's funny. I was just thinking about Reboot the other day. Like I was literally reading the Wikipedia page the other day.
Yes,
trying to remember that show.
I only remember because there's an Evil Dead episode. So,
is there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I was. Well, I don't think I saw all of them. This is back in the day where you could not stream it, so you had to watch it on TV. But yeah, I remember all the characters. It was good. It was good stuff.
No, I like Technogod just because, I said ahead of its time with the idea of the microchip and VR. Like we just got the microchip. Like we're not having VR at the same time,
right?
But with both of us being in technology and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, we're still seeing it today. It's, a big thing in Ready Player One of people escaping reality and, adhering to the idea of technology being the new god. So that's really why I like that story.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your worst one?
Worst one for me is going to be God of Death. I really didn't feel that one. I don't know if I didn't get the jokes. Like a lot of them felt like they were kind of cultural things that kind of went over my head. That's probably why. I don't think. Again, it was made again, like knowing September 19th, 1985, like a real earthquake happened. I didn't have any idea. Like I kind of assumed because they kept saying the date over and over again, but they never.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But like, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I just didn't. I thought that was the weakest one of the bunch. The effects were like crap.
Right. And we don't typically include the rappers into these assessments because it's not really a story.
Oh, I mean, Rory was. I mean, that's a complete story.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bro just seemed really, really short in comparison to everything else. I will say God of Death as well. For one thing that really threw me off is when they're going through the tunnels and stuff starts collapsing, it looks like they just moved two plastic bags apart.
Yeah, well, looking at like the cracks happen, they were like the worst graphic. Like, yeah, like they're just like covered in like white powder all the time. Like, I didn't understand. Like the news lady sitting at the desk was wearing so much white makeup.
Yes,
that she looked like a ghost. And then like everybody else, as they're moving through the tower, all had the same like white makeup on. I was like, were they all wearing makeup? Like, I was very confused. Because like the lady was as white as they were, and then I'm like, oh, I think that's supposed to be like rock dust. Like rock dust is not bright white. Like it's rock colored. It's like gray or dirt colored. It's not like bright white colored. It's not like gypsum. I don't know what was going on there, but yeah, it was very confusing and very just like I don't know. I don't know. Overall, I just felt like it didn't really.
What got me too was maybe not plastic bags. They look like cut pieces of styrofoam. That they clearly are cut pieces of styrofoam, and that they just move apart. Like somehow, I think all the budget went into the blood effects for this short than anything else.
Yeah.
So, like in comparison, just the Technogod we have to forgive because that's what VR would have, in theory, looked like in 1985. If it was there, and the effects were just, I think, the worst in this segment
for sure. Yeah.
So, and I know a little bit about some lore, but I had to Google the crap out of the gods. Just,
I mean, yeah, like I understand that Mayan gods. Tenochtitlan was the that was their capital city, and that's what Mexico City was built over.
Right.
So like I get what's happening. I just didn't like the story. Like I didn't think it was that well done. That's all.
Yeah. All right. So how many beta decks out of 10 do you give this one?
Overall, I thought it was good. I mean, is it worth rewatching? Yeah. So I'll give it a 7. 7 beta decks out of 10.
Yeah, as we discussed, when we did the lump of all the VHS previously, yeah, like Viral was definitely, I think, our worst rated, hands down, of all of these.
Right, which is a shame because I like all the rest of them. Like 1 was good, 2 is good, and then I want to watch 99, 94, and 85 again, but like you have to watch Viral, right? Because it's in there. But it's like that's the one I don't want to watch.
Yeah, and we've been, like I said, we've been rating these 8 and 9s really across the board for all of these except Viral. We give that one a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is up there. Like they are doing something right with this franchise now. For the most part, us, we have to ding some for some segments because of the graphics or the idea of what a Hot Topic goth looks like.
Yeah,
way ahead of us.
Exactly. Like if you look at what goths looked like in '85, it was not like that.
No. So I will give it. 8 beta decks out of 10. I enjoyed it. I actually rewatched part of it twice. So
no, yeah, it's definitely worth watching. It's definitely the best of the 3 here.
Yeah, I watched the second half twice just because I liked the back half a lot.
Yeah, like I said, overall it's good. I mean, like I said, the wrapper was done well. I mean, I really liked how they did like the kind of commercials and stuff like that. All this shit that would be on a taped over VHS tape. That's how they looked back then. So yeah, it's
absolutely
true to form.
And for anyone of our young listeners, our parents in the 80s and early 90s had to be reminded they had children at 10 o'clock at night. Like, wait, they haven't come back for dinner yet. They're still somewhere.
Well, I mean, I was of that generation. I was because technically I'm Gen X, right? So I was the last generation that got away with that shit. But yeah, did I wear a helmet when I rode a bike? No. Right. Did anyone I know, anyone that I ever saw as a child wear a helmet riding a bike? Nope. Right. Not one. I never even knew where to buy one. I couldn't even tell you. Toys R Us had a row of bikes. There was no fucking helmets anywhere.
Right.
Well, that also dates me as Toys R Us is. I guess they're still technically around, but they're not the place to go. Back then, it was the place to go.
Right.
But people skateboarding. Did they wear fucking knee pads and elbow pads and shit? Nope. Where would you go buy them? I don't even know.
Right.
But yeah, we'd go to parks. We'd go, on adventures. Like I'd go to the comic store, which was I don't know, a 30-minute bike ride away from my house, and nobody gives a shit. Again, I was a latchkey kid, right? I'd get home from school. My parents wouldn't be home for hours. I had to make myself dinner and shit. We were the last generation that got away with that stuff. But again, I think that's why we're also the last generation that has independence, understands how to do things for themselves. You had to learn, or it didn't happen.
Yes, us geriatric millennials are close to that.
Like I said, there's that bridge generation of Zennials, which is you had a analog childhood with a digital adulthood, which is very similar. And both of us fall into that. So we have a lot of similarities there. But yeah, it's basically that's where it falls off. The generations after that, it's just fundamentally changed, because I think it's a lot because people are a lot more connected than they were.
Yes. You'd be like, all right, just be home at some point.
Right. Yeah. Nobody, if my parents came home and I wasn't there, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, where is he? They were like, whatever. He'll be there. If he wasn't back by the next morning, something's wrong. But no, they wouldn't give a shit that night.
He'll get hungry. He'll come home.
Right. Exactly. Where are you going? I don't know. Okay, bye. You go out to a park an hour away. Nobody knows what you're doing.
Absolutely. Did you like the Chicago deep dish pizza commercial?
Yeah. Not Chicago deep dish.
Chicago deep dish logo.
Right. Great.
Oh yeah. So I assume then maybe it takes place in Chicago.
Maybe, I don't know. I would like to go visit
number one.
I would like to go revisit a Pizza Hut from 1985. I remember Pizza Hut being awesome in 1985. Not so much, not so much now, but pizza used to be like the jam.
Oh yeah. So, all right. So yeah, we'll have to see how we do the next VHS installment. I assume they're just going to do every year at this point in time.
Well, they have for the last 3 years, so I hope so.
Yeah, it says to be announced.
Yeah. Well, when did they announce 85? Like just a couple months ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure it'll pop up in like August of next year. They'll announce it.
Yeah. Cool. Should bring us home.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry for some split pea soup.
Mm-mm.
So grab your Parker Brothers Ouija board, put out the Pazuzu statue, and see if we become believers as we pair for the Exorcist or the new movie Exorcist Believer with the original Exorcist trilogy. Which again, I've seen the first one. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones, so we'll see how this goes. I haven't heard good things, so it'll probably be a great time, I'm sure.
Oh, let's just say that Believer within 16 days was announced a digital release.
Yay! At least I don't have to go to the theater to watch it. That's a good thing. There's a plus.
Yes. This will be the first time I've watched the Exorcist movies, especially 2 and 3, in probably 25 plus years.
Yeah, I said I've seen the first one a couple times. Have not seen any of the other ones. Don't really care to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we watch bad movies. We watch bad movies so you don't have to.
Yeah, and this has been Gravy saying, it's 10 o'clock. Have you checked on the children?
Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.
Good night.